Good morning, everybody. My name is Game Champ, and today I'd like to discuss Super Mario Odyssey, its approach to collectibles, and how well I think that approach succeeds. Before I go any further, I want to make clear before anybody gets the wrong idea, I love Odyssey, okay? It's the best game ever made, 15,000 hours, etc. I'm not saying I hate the game, nor am I saying that you should hate the game. I'm critically examining the game as I see it. So with that said, I feel like collectibles in Super Mario Odyssey are woefully misutilized, and it is the game's biggest flaw. There are far too many moons in too small an area, being obtained at too regular an interval with not enough player effort for each one to feel particularly satisfying on its own. Like, seriously, look at this moon. This is my most hated moon in the entire game. This rock is identical to all the other rocks scattered around which just have gold coins in them. But when you happen to run and kick this one, oh look, you got a moon, and you expended exactly the same effort that the game has already made clear is worth only a single gold coin. You don't kick this rock expecting a moon, you're kicking it based on instinct. Because it's a free action, and being a free action, it usually gives extremely minimal reward. With this rock, the game explicitly told me moons are worthless. And what can I even use these power moons for? Before beating the game, only a very small percentage of moons have any value. Once you reach the necessary amount in one world, that world is done. In the short term, there's functionally no purpose to grabbing any more than the absolute minimum number of moons. Not to mention the fact it's literally impossible to complete each world until after you've beaten the game. You do have to grab every moon anyway, of course. That is required for more long-term rewards and the true ultimate goal of 100% completion. But I feel like the key to a collectathon and games in general is to give the player manageable short-term goals that ultimately build up to form the long-term goals. A long-term goal feels like a never-ending grind, but cutting it up into short-term goals keeps the player focused. By setting the short-term moon requirement so low and making the moons themselves so plentiful, it sets the perceived value of each individual power moon to darn near worthless. Let's compare to one of my favorite collectathons and a game that I think structures itself in a far more favorable way, Jak and Daxter. Every time I play this game, which I've done at least 5 times now, I always finish with the thought, I want to do that again. Collecting every shiny object is just so satisfying. It doesn't get old even immediately after a complete playthrough. Playing through it, I couldn't help but compare it to Odyssey, which is what brought this video about. In Odyssey, you unlock each world one at a time and are required to get a certain number of moons in that individual world to unlock the next. The global moon total is irrelevant until the postgame. All that matters is your total in the most recently unlocked level, so all moons in an individual world are instantly made worthless the moment you obtain its final required moon. In Jak, power cells never lose their value until after you've reached the endgame requirements. You unlock levels in sets. Each set has its own selection of levels which you can potentially go to search for power cells, and the requirement to move on to the next level set is significant enough you'll have to find a majority of the available power cells to move on. Check out the numbers for the Sandover Village set. There are 34 available power cells, and you need to collect 20. This means the player is required to find roughly 60% of the power cells available to them, and thus 60% of all power cells in the first level set are a part of the player's clearly defined short-term goal. Even if you comb through the entirety of the first level you visit, you won't have enough power cells. That means 100% of the player's time in that level was directly contributing to their short-term goal. On top of that, even if you move to the second level set, the first set's power cells are still equally valuable, and the player can backtrack at any time if they want to search the early levels instead. Let's apply the same to Odyssey, with just the first 2 levels. Cascade Kingdom is essentially a tutorial area and requires 5 moons, with 19 total available on your first visit. But it's also worth noting 4 moons are given to you just for finishing the required story segments. So with regards to exploration, you actually only need to find 1 out of 15 moons. Almost the entirety of Cascade Kingdom, at the time the player is introduced to it, is a waste of the player's time. But that's a tutorial level, so let's look at the first real world of the game. In Sand Kingdom, 16 moons are required out of 61 available moons. That means roughly 25%, a fourth of the moons available to the player, are part of their short-term goal, and consequently, roughly 75%, 3 3/4 of the giant Sand Kingdom feels like a complete waste of time. And since the majority of moons are trash, even the ones you do need to get feel like trash. That feeling, that knowledge in the back of your head that each moon is 75% trash is, to me, inescapable. Super Mario Odyssey is a game about collecting trash. Now, as I said at the beginning, I do love the game. When you look at each moon on an individual level, at least with regards to the first visit moons, some are trash, yes, but the rock I mentioned earlier is one trash moon compared to many others that have you exploring a unique world in a unique way. These moons do have their own inherent individual value, their own little platforming challenges to overcome, and that are satisfying to overcome. But the game's structure disagrees. Structurally, the game is telling you that no matter how much fun you're having, if you grab a single moon after the minimum, you are objectively wasting your time. And when it throws moons at you like this, it's difficult to disagree.
Special thanks to all Patreon backers, including Lord of Renzi, Eric Flynn, Les Lamb, Zany Bands, David 20 Covers, Beatty JD, Harvey Drock, Solin Ohm, Brutus Saltier, Aim Sue, Mrs. Seckman, and Andrew Seibert. Let me know how much this video sucks and how much I can improve in the comments below. Especially also let me know your opinions on Odyssey, if you agree or disagree, and especially let me know if there's actually legitimately at least one human being out there who didn't just experience the most extreme sensation of rage when they kicked that rock. Special arigato for watching, and leave.